Mute yourself, Jay, and okay, here we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Unlimited Network Mastermind that we do every Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And today is Saturday, May 28th, the end of May, beautiful month here. And here we are together to keep mastering, I would say, understanding and practicing and mastering the release technique. We are studying this beautiful, powerful book. I never knew that was so powerful, but it is. The Abundance Book by Lawrence Crane. And it's all about releasing, and I think I'm getting it. I'm very excited about that, about having this kind of concrete focus or intention, you know, that help us to let go all the layers that cover up our true nature, that we don't have to work hard for being who we truly are. The opposite, we can just relax and learn how to let go, how to release. That is what we are doing here all together. So I welcome all of you, the ones that you are in this side, that I can see your faces and we can talk together, and the ones that you are seeing the recording on the other side, let's say just welcome again, the same. And if you have some questions, there is a little space for you to ask questions. And if you want to be in the panel, remember you can always write Arne, A-R-N-E, at unlimitednetwork.com. And without any more waiting time here, because I mean, all this book, I think we have this tendency of studying the books and to really deepening with them or whatever. But this one is practice and practice and practice. And we are spending some time all together here with the chapter that is based about disapproving yourself, you know, and last week we did a lot of practice, and it's funny how much we can purge and how much, you know, we are identified or we have this kind of conditioning affecting our lives and our results without even know it. I mean, to me, I'm becoming so aware of this, like, wow, you know, I didn't know that before, so it's very beautiful. And we are going to start with, on page 79, where it says attachment to disapproving of yourself. So we were a little bit dancing, you know, between the aversion, like, you know, aversion, you don't like to be disapproved or disapprove, and the other one is attachment, when you get some benefit, and we are going to deepen in on that. Something that I want to say is that thanks to this book, I realized myself personally that I am much more on the side of creating or coming from separation, from judgment, from pushing away, you know. And I'm very happy because I can smile about it. Less and less personal. I feel more and more free. So I'm very grateful and excited about continuing taking layers away in, you know, healthy and good way that we are doing all together and supporting each other to keep doing that. So that's why we are here together, to have the courage to allow our dreams and our success, in quotes. Everyone has their own understanding about that, but to really be yourself and to enjoy this life maximum. So that's the deep intention of our meetings together every Saturday a.m. And here we go. So if you're ready, Doc Fran, we can start to read. And remember that if you have any comments during the reading here, you open your microphone and you say hello, and we can engage with each other here, because that's the idea. So welcome, Doc Fran. If you're ready, we can continue deepening with this topic. Hello, hello.
How are you this morning?
Good.
Well, welcome everyone.
Good, and really good.
We're back to the wrap up on this rather powerful chapter, and you know it's interesting to me as I read through this last night in preparation. I'm not sure whether our author here has a misprint, or whether he really wants us to run back through doing the attachment to disapproving of ourselves a second time, because we started out in the chapter doing exactly this, and it almost looks like a verbatim reprint of those first couple of pages. So, you know, I've found that our last two meetings have been very productive and very stimulating in terms of thought among the panel. So there may not be a problem with simply reinvestigating the attachment to disapproving of ourselves as an end-off point for this. And you know, number of times over material equals mastery of the subject. So there could be method to his madness, and or this, you know, this could be a misprint. But I'm choosing to believe that it is it is a repeat of probably the most important part of this, and that is to break the attachment to disapproving of ourselves. And last week we talked about it. It's a confusing chapter in the sense that there are double negatives here, particularly with this idea of aversion to disapproving of ourselves. Why would we have an aversion to doing something that is completely counterproductive? Well, we discussed some of the reasons why that might be, and it's kind of a trick of the ego where we believe we're doing something good for ourselves, but in actuality we're serving the ego, which in most cases has found that we find that you're not truly serving yourself, you're serving a limiting self-belief in your subconscious belief system. So with that in mind, let's take a few minutes now, and I'm going to read this and then we'll do our exercise. Attachment to disapproving of yourself. Now, let's take another look at the attachment of disapproving of ourselves. If you keep disapproving of yourself, there must be some subconscious attachment to continuing this habit, some subconscious habit. So let's take a look at that by having you complete the attachment chart. Just let your mind think of things about the attachment. Write it down and see what you wrote or thought of as wanting approval, wanting control, or wanting to be safe or secure, and then release that want. So that's really what we're looking at here, and what I'd like to do is take a few minutes and look at this first part. What advantage is it to me to disapprove of myself? What advantage in a new unit of time today can you see to having an attachment to this habit of disapproving of self? So let's do that. All right. Who has an idea on this in a new unit of time here this morning?
I can come in. Okay, I can come in. Just to open the... Oops. Okay. Well, I'm going. So, interesting to me is like I feel so much resistance in advantage. What are you talking about advantage? It's like no advantage at all, the first dialogue that I have here. But something that I see is like first to feel bad about myself. Then I think, you know, from ego side is a success, you know. And I related with, again, need of approval. So it's almost like it's a circuit, that nurture itself. And then something that came after that, and, just exploring, and I love, because every time that I do, even if it appears that we are doing the same thing here, for me, to take the time together to explore is very supportive, because if not, maybe I don't do it today. I mean, I do it now when I feel it, but I don't explore it. So I love to manage this book all together here. But then another thing that I found here is like, that there is a sense of wanting to be better. That again, I feel is ego nurturing. Like the wanting to be better signifies that maybe I'm not good enough inside. So we come from there. And I will reflect the first energy that I sense, to feel bad, relate to poor me, like playing small, blah, 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 is really coming from the need of approval, like I said before. In this one, the wanted to be better, I sense that is need of control, like I have to, from fear, in another word, so it's interesting, and I just love a little layer out. Thank you. Arne?
That was good. Advantage of disapproving of myself is like I can go a little bit more on automatic. I don't. My familiar habitual tendency is to disapprove of myself, so I can just relax into doing what I do all the time instead of becoming more conscious and start to notice how I'm sabotaging myself and change. So it's kind of easier just to run on unconscious automatic. And also, when I disapprove of myself, I get a kind of a control over how much disapproval I'm going to have. Because if I just let it to the universe to disapprove of me, I don't know, it can be really bad. So disapproving on myself, I got the whole task handled already, and I know how much I'm going to have of the disapproval, and I can portion it out without feeling threatened, so to say. I know what I'm getting.
All right.
So in that case, just one second.
Go ahead, Monica.
I just have a question with you, Arne, to master all of this, but in that case, what you were saying at the end will be just to open the window, like open the window and let go. Let's say that will be need of control, no? In simplicity, from the three needs that we have to begin with. Remember, we move between need of approval, need of control, or need of security. Okay, beautiful, because I see the window. Yeah. Oh, go out. Beautiful. Thanks. Okay, Doc Fran.
All right. Anybody else? Well, good. Well, Arne, I believe that you hit on probably the quintessential reason why we have an attachment to disapproving of ourselves. And your observation and your cognition that this allows you to simply remain on autopilot and not challenge you to be conscious. What a perfect way for your ego to control your life. Because we only feel a need for control, it seems to me, when we operate from our human consciousness, our human side. If we actually contemplate the truth of our essential beingness, we are immortal, all-powerful, creative force in our non-spiritual or our non-human side, our non-physical side, our spiritual entity. There is no need for control, because as a pure spirit, we are in control automatically of everything. We are, in fact, that essence of God that's within us. So that really, I think, was a brilliant insight, and really points up to me now that this was not a mistake, not a misprint, but really the point of the exercise is to challenge ourselves to go back into an evaluation of stream of consciousness. And my items that I wrote down, the first one was that it reminds me that I'm only human, and I saw that really as a blanket justification for all the stupid, non-enlightened, ego-driven actions, reactions, comments, and behaviors that that I'm so capable of manifesting. So there's a certain security in that, and then it creates false humility. So that gives us a sense of approval. Well, when you're self-effacing, we assume that people will approve of us more rather than being perceived as arrogant or conceited or self-inflated. And finally, it's a good tool to disarm your critics, and that gives you control in that regard. Again, by creating a false appearance, a Machiavellian type of behavior pattern. So I found this quite fascinating today to do this with this second wind kind of approach in a new unit of time. So now let's go on to the second part of that. Looking again at our attachment to disapproving of ourselves in a new unit of time. What disadvantage is it to me to disapprove of myself? So let's take a few minutes in silence and write this up as well.
So the question is the disadvantage of disapproving of myself, right?
That's correct, yes. So as a means of justifying attachment to disapproving of yourself, what disadvantage is it to us to disapprove of ourselves? Why should we not basically have an attachment to disapproving of ourselves? All right. Who's got an idea on this?
I do.
Well, go.
It keeps me stuck in patterns and behaviors. So again, I don't have to be conscious, but the main thing I noticed was it just disconnects me. It shuts me out of being able to be present and to be in the now, to engage in the activities of the moment, or with other people who are with me. It just takes the fun out. So, yeah, I'm going to keep releasing till it's gone.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Well, in the absence, you know, it is interesting that we have a difficulty now writing down these things. And again,
I have.
oh, you have something. Okay, go.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and Celio also opened the micro. Okay,
What
Celio, go. I go after.
That I just try to dig into the, you know, the essence of the question, Dr. Frank, and I don't honestly see any disadvantage on disapproving of myself. You know, I honestly don't see any disadvantage. So for me, I convert it to the positive. I mean, you know, there's no disadvantage. You know, it's great not to disapprove of myself. This is the way I see it. So I don't see disadvantage, you know, from my point of view, because I really don't want to disapprove of myself. So no disadvantage. I don't see it. You know, I see it as an advantage, not disadvantage. So this is for me is what comes. And then if I wanted to dig more, I become like dumb. Then you know, it's like, well, there's something here that I don't get. So maybe that's the whole thing, you know, that I'm not getting it, and I just let go and release of that. Of that makes me feel uncomfortable that I'm not getting it, and then I'm getting it. So for me, that's the essential point. You know, when I don't see any disadvantage, then if I try to go deeper and I just feel something in my tummy, and then I say, okay, it's there, so just release it, and you know. And to me, that's the answer. You know, this is the releasing, just letting go of that feeling.
Thank you, Celio. I don't know if you have a comments or not, Dr. Fran, but I can share my side too here. You let me know. Okay, I go. So thank you, Celio. For me, it's like I don't know, but I suffer a lot from disapproving all my life, and it's funny. I remember, you know, how much I rejected all the time, and thanks to this technique, right now I'm like, okay, here it is, bringing more light from a, I would say, I don't know, detached place or impersonal place, so I can see it more, in other words. But what really brings to me, like when I ask the question inside, and I could release a little more today, is insecurity, lack of confidence. I mean, to have this, you know, like it's like to have an agent, something somewhere there, you know, that is looking for all the faults or all the things that I didn't do good enough or whatever. It's like it's constant. So I learned how to be immune, if you want, in a certain level, but deep is like, I don't like it, you know, I don't want it. So the disadvantage to me is because, why I don't want it? Because I feel insecure. It's like really makes me, you know, feel lack of confidence, so at the end, need of security, I will say. And then in another word that I think is the same energy here is like holds me back when engaging with the world. You know, it's like that insecurity is like, okay, you know, go to your cocoon and you know, and just, you know, you're safe right there. So again, need of security, I would say, is what I'm, you know, opening the window more today. Thank you.
Well, thanks very much. And yeah, it is convoluted, Celio. You know, you get caught up in the double negatives, and I guess it proves why doublespeak is always confusing and why politicians use it so much. So I think that I think Candace nailed the essential item here with her cognition and realization that it prevents us from ever being in the now. And we discussed at length on several of our calls the reality that the only time in time that we can take action is right now. We can't take action in the past. We can't take action in the future. We can perhaps postulate what action we might take in the future, but that still is not and action. So the real damage of disapproving of ourselves, of this attachment to disapproving of ourselves, is the very fact that it inherently blocks us from being conscious and taking action in the now. And so thank you for that. And that proves the power of our panel in that these absolute brilliant insights occur. And all of us can now gain the advantage of that group insight. The three things that I wrote down were that it prevents consciousness, as Arnie kind of pointed out before, and that's a security item. You know, we can shrink back into an inanimate object. That's the ostrich with his head in the sand approach. I don't see a problem, therefore there's no problem. It blocks spiritual enlightenment. That's a major disadvantage, and that's a control issue, as we've already seen. That you know, we're really in a pitched battle between our ego, which is the control entity within our human existence, versus allowing our true spiritual nature to dominate. And finally, it can stimulate pity or concern or grief or lower emotions in other people related to us. So that's an approval issue. You know, in essence, why would anyone want to be pitied? Why would anyone want people to be concerned for them? Why would anyone need a low emotional approval rating from another being? And so, again, that blocks your spiritual growth. I'm sorry?
Control.
Control, you're saying?
Yes, yes.
Okay, yeah. No, of course. And again, that's where you're in. You're in a control. You're in control for approval at that point, or control of your approval. So, you know, again, it all comes back to the three basic subconscious drives that Lawrence Crane has laid out for us. And what he's showing to us, it seems to me, in this chapter, is that all of our behaviors and all of our beliefs stem from one of these three basic motivations: a need for approval, a need for control, or a need for security. And at different times, one of them is going to assume whatever one is being impinged on in the present time greater than the other two, that is the behavior that's going to become your dominant manifestation in this unit of time. It's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you're starving and there's no food around, you're not really worried about how much money you've got in the bank, or how big your house is, or, you know, what job status or what title you have. You need food to sustain your very existence. So your entire behavior pattern and manifestation is going to go to that lowest level of need, finding food. All right.
I have another angle that's just coming to my attention here, that when I'm disapproving of myself, then I am pretending to be a victim. Look, I'm such a not a good person. I'm a victim, and when I'm a victim, I'm helpless. And when I'm helpless, I force other people to help me, which means then I get in control over the whole situation. So disapproving of myself is a whole game of victimizing and becoming helpless, and as a means to controlling the situation. Maybe it's too deep, but I see that.
No, that again, absolutely brilliant, because there's nothing too deep. You know, we can't consciously ever understand the totality of our spiritual knowingness. The best we can hope for is exactly what we're doing with our panel here. and that is to get momentary insights and inspirations that gives us another glimpse and a kernel of essential truth, from whatever we're on. Go, Monica.
Yeah, I just want to say that how subtle, how subtle and how we say addicted we are to this, so we don't realize, but just the word that you say at the last minute, like, maybe it's too deep. What's that? That's disapproval, like instead of coming full force, say, well, this is my experience, period. No judgment, no more, less, done, good, bad, wrong, right, up.
Yeah, I know I did that wrong.
I don't think, yeah, you're right, exactly. It's like no end about it, but it's so subtle. To me, it's like, I catch it, I don't know, this journey really is giving me a lot of space, and I feel much more free. I mean, I have to say that I can smile, and I can, the other night, we were on a night together, and suddenly we look at each other like I can laugh, not laugh in a, I can smile really honestly, with this ego personality, lost self, like here that is here for me to love it, and I have much more space and much more easy. So it's funny, but the way that I catch it lately, in my own self, in my own thought is like, here we are holding us back, like really limiting that magnificence that I feel so strongly, in our presence here, the magnificence of our spirit. So thank you. It was just funny. Thank you.
I think that one reason that it gets easier to laugh at it or to see it further away, see the issues further away, is because we are realizing more and more that that's not us. That's a thought system, things we learn that we're attached to, but it's not us. We are not that. We are something else. We are the spirit. We are the space. We are not the thoughts. We see, we have the thoughts. We are not the thoughts. So I think we, at the same time as those attachments are and aversions are going away, that space that filled up now start to be filled up with the truth, which is, who am I? The ultimate spirit, the source, coming through as me being the fountain of it, or the eruption of the fountain. So I feel like it's being replaced, and more realization. So that's a good for me. Approval.
All right. Well, that was fabulous. And when it was funny when Jay simply had the image of his room without him in it on the panel, I was going to say, wow, here's the power of our panel. Jay just got so much spiritual insight that he ceased to be as a human, and he's now just a pure spirit sitting there, and we can't see him. So, all right, well, let's continue on with the reading then, because I'm really glad, and I appreciate the tolerance of our panel that you kind of allowed me to stretch this chapter out for 3 Saturdays, because I don't think we would have gotten to this level of awareness on the power of the chapter had we tried to just compress it into the one Saturday. Imagine never, ever being able to disapprove of myself again. Let go of any clutching, resisting the feeling it brings up in your stomach or chest. Keep releasing until there's no more feelings in your stomach or chest. So just from time to time, ask yourself, allow that conscious question to come up and see if we need to open that window in our stomach and allow that energy to pass through. Could I let go of my entire attachment to disapproving of myself? Another major question. And this is one that I think it would behoove, as we've seen, we never exhaust anything totally. So there is value in going back over these things from time to time. It doesn't have to become a mania. It doesn't have to become an enforced behavior. But from time to time, allow these thoughts to pop and see if there still is any strong attention to that question. What advantage is it for you to disapprove of yourself? Make something up. Give me something silly. Could you see that as either wanting approval, wanting control, or wanting to be safe and secure? And whichever one it brings up, could you just let it go? And more and more. So, you know, what disadvantages are there in you disapproving of yourself? Use your imagination. Come up with something dumb or silly. Whatever it is, could you see it as either wanting approval, wanting control, or wanting to be safe and secure? Whichever want it brings up, can you just let it go? And more and more. And what's another advantage of disapproving of yourself? If the word none comes up, or I'm numb, see that as wanting approval, wanting control, or wanting to be safe or secure, whatever you came up with. And whichever want was stirred up, could you let it go? The want equals lack. Interesting. The want equals lack. So just let it go. And what's another disadvantage of disapproving of yourself? Whichever want that gets stirred up, can you just let it go? Whether it's a want of approval, control, or being safe and secure, could you just let it go? And more and more. Continue with this until you have no more advantages or disadvantages that come up. Then move on. For that period of time, it's done. Don't try and beat yourself to death with this. Now, let's ask the squeeze the lemon question on the attachment side. Imagine never, ever, ever being able to disapprove of yourself again. You've lost that ability. If that brings up an unwanted energy, a clutching, a resistance, either put your hand on your stomach or your chest, or put your head down. Just allow that energy, which wants to leave, to come up and pass through that metaphorical window in your stomach. And more and more. Don't try to understand the energy. Just let it go. You may surprise yourself in realizing you had a subconscious attachment to beating yourself up. It shows up through the clutching sensation in your feeling center. One more time. Imagine never, ever being able to disapprove of yourself. You've lost that ability. See if there's any resistance, any clutching, any choking. Just allow it to come up and pass through. Remember, it's not good, it's not bad, it's just phenomena. It's just energy passing through from your stomach or your chest area. And more and even more. Free up those attention units. This is only a habit. Consciously, we wouldn't do anything to hurt ourselves, but when we push this energy into the subconscious mind, it runs until we take it out of our mind. Think about that. Anything that gets into the subconscious stays there and continues to run. It's like background programs on your computer. You're not even aware that they're running, but they're constantly running every time you boot up your computer. That's what makes your computer run slower. No wonder it makes our brains run slower. Okay, oh, here it is, and funny. But when we push this energy, it runs until we take it, much like deleting a computer file. So let's begin pulling it up again and letting it go. If you have a stronger aversion to something, it's a good idea to work on aversion first. But if you have a stronger attachment to something, then work on that first. Work on whatever is easier for you to stop, and then work on the other. Stronger emotions are much easier to perceive clearly. So work on those stronger negative emotions first, or even stronger positive emotions. We've already learned in one of our chapters here that, you know, the idea of being is just that. It's not being in any particular emotional state or state of mind. It's simply being. My experience has usually been that most people have an aversion to disapproving of themselves more than an attachment to it. They don't like the habit. They want to stop it. It's a desire to stop it. This is not necessarily so in every case, but it does occur in most instances. So let's start with an aversion to disapproving of yourself. Take out the chart on aversion of disapproving of yourself and complete it. That's in the beginning of the chapter here. Just get in touch with that energy, that clutching in your stomach or chest, that resisting, and let the energy go, and more, and even more. And now, let's ask one more of the squeezing the lemon questions. What we are doing is bringing up our subconscious mind and taking a look at our resistance, our clutching, and letting it go. Imagine disapproving of yourself all the time. You can't stop. You're going to continue this forever. Tilt your head down and notice it brings up an unwanted energy, and just allow it to pass through, and more and more and even more. Put your hand on your feeling center, your stomach or your chest, and allow it to pass through, and more and even more. One more time. Imagine disapproving of yourself forever. You can't stop disapproving of yourself. You're going to have to disapprove of yourself all the time for all eternity. You're stuck with it. How's that make you feel? Allow that energy to come up in your stomach or chest. Don't push it down. Allow it to come up and allow it to pass through. This would be like one of those silly things. We probably wouldn't contemplate this, but it is the perfect contemplation. What if we could never stop disapproving of ourselves for the rest of eternity? Whew. There's a definition of hell.
Well, I have the other side of that, which is I'm one of the unusual people there. I have more attachment to disapproval. A part of me, I feel the clutching, so I know that's not good. But the concept or the ideas behind is no, I have attachment to disapproving myself. It's my security valve. If I stop disapproving of myself, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I start to do things that are not saintly or divine, and then I start to do bad things, and I'm not correcting myself in that. So disapproving of myself, I have attachment to that on a mental level because I think it keeps me safe and the world around me is safe because I'm always keeping a check on myself. Are you doing? What are you doing now? What are you doing now? Like that. But I feel the clutching, and I also notice, thanks to the book here and your reading, that all of that is based on wanting security. So realizing that is, I'm looking for security. Am I willing to let go of looking for security? Yes, I am. So the clutching and the letting go of needing security, those two keys let me, for me, unhooks the need for the attachment to disapproving of myself. So I just want to share that because I feel like that was a good release for me.
Yes, I just want to jump in 1 second. Dr. Franz, that you read in the beginning of this last part something that to me is essential to understand the whole thing, and it's that we don't have to try to understand the energy, because somehow we try with trying to understand from an intellectual point of view, digging into the subconscious. And to me, the beauty of the release technique is once when you really get it, you get that you don't really get it. You just feel it and don't intellectualize that energy and just let it go. Because the moment you fall into the trap of trying to understand that energy too much, then it becomes what you said. It becomes the eternal hell. And to me, the freeing part is very simple. It's extremely simple. I don't want to understand the energy. I don't want to understand the clutching. I don't want to dig into it so much. I just want to feel it and let it go as fast as I can. As a matter of even it's safety, but not, like I'm being consciously safe in allowing that energy that I'm not trying to understand, allowing it to let go. And I love what Arne said, because I also experience that. I'm checking on myself all the time. That security consciousness is so important. And yeah, I want to release it not to a point. I want to release the suffering of trying to be so perfectionist in trying to analyze the moment, the second, and connecting that with Candace. That's the opposite to being in the now. It's not being in the now. So this is what I think is the beauty of this deepening, is that we get more and more in the understanding of the now. So the release technique somehow take us to that powerful present place where everything manifests, and that's where I want to be. So it's great. Thank you, Dr. Fran, for making this chapter 3-day long, because even for a whole month, I mean, just to get this understanding is essential, is crucial for anyone who wants to understand what's really going on in his life from this point of view, from our point of view. Not, this is not the worldly point of view or superficial. We just want to go deep and don't have a limit for that, But then once we understand and once we feel the energy, we want to let it go fast.
Well, Celio, thank you. Beautiful. I'm just sitting here noticing that this releasing that we're doing on the spot, as these topics come up, that I just came up against or with one, the habit of self-sabotage. It seems like to me like the ultimate action that would be attached to the series of thoughts of disapproval. So it's kind of like, what action do I take after I have all these not so pleasant thoughts and disapproval of myself? Well, it is self-sabotage, because that's consistent with the stream of thinking of the, you did this wrong, you're not good, la 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 la. Huh, we all have our own variety, I'm sure. Anyway, I'm just finding that is incredibly, it's exciting and freeing to have found a whole nother little area, or big area, or something area to be releasing. And this is the first time I've felt the weight, like almost a physical weight of an issue to be released. And then I went into a play of words. There's also, instead of the weight meaning the heaviness of it, there's also the weight, W-A-I-T, that I have to wait until I'm finished with this bit of release, with this pocket of energy, before I can be back into my now, into my present. So, big old control issue there. So, and I also realized that it leads me to being incomplete in finishing what I start. Not always, but sometimes it's one of those things that I've had to work with in my life, is completions, and putting the period on the end of the sentence, like now.
Oh man, I'll tell you, I am so thoroughly loving this whole exercise. I'll just read this last paragraph and then make some comments if you don't mind. So continue working on this, on the, quote, attachment to disapproving yourself, close quote, and the, quote, aversion to disapproving of yourself, quote, worksheets. You may want to work on this more deeply, or you may have cleaned it up. If this is the case, then fine. With no attachments and no aversions, you fall right into imperturbability. Now, imperturbability means that you can't get upset about things. Nothing perturbs you. So, and you're on your way to having abundance of everything. Why would that be? Because you're not allowing attention units to get stuck on anything, because nothing is impinging on your consciousness right now that would create you or create the need to attach attention units to it. Arne and Celia, all of us today on the panel have really talked about the challenge that we have in life is that nothing is black and white. If everything were just black and white, then it would be very simple. But unfortunately, every thought, every object, everything in our universe has a dual nature. And within that dual nature is the very essence of conflict. So there is no ability to not be conflicted. And what occurred to me as Arnie was speaking was that he gave me the perfect title for my next book that I'm going to write, and that is Living with the Gray. So, or living in the gray, embracing the gray, something like that, you know. So it really, you know, I feel lighter. I feel lighter right now. I believe that this chapter really had some very distinct personal benefit to me in terms of finding cognitions on this interesting area of attachment and aversion to disapproving of yourself, and understanding it finally in a conscious mode. That's the first step to actually mastering anything, is to become aware of it. So I appreciate all the help from all of the panel here. I appreciate all the benefit that I gained from the panel on this topic, and we can take a few minutes now and see if there's any last comments that our panel wants to share, or if we have any questions from our listeners on the board here today.
When you check out, and I'm going to share, if there is something, you let me know. Well, oof, gratitude is overflowing right now, because it's very different to read this book by myself and I ask my own questions, and to be here. I think all together we really empower, you know, the moment and the intention that we have right now to release, you know. So, and I want to say thank you, Doc Frank, because, I don't know, your presence, your voice, whatever, the way that you are asking the questions, but I want to acknowledge that how sensitive I am, or we are, you know, we are getting here all together, I don't know, but to me, when I ask the question, for example, you know, that you will never, ever, ever, ever again be disapproved. And it's funny because the sensation that I got the first, instead of, oh, super, you know, fantastic, like you know, like, oh my gosh, you know, it's like I really have to jump into the unknown, into the now, you know, into the self, let's say capital letters, and I did for a second when I was just doing the exploration. Right now, I mean, this is, what, 30 seconds, I don't know, it's not like you have to spend a lot of time here, so, but I really appreciate that. And then, you know, when I asked the question, the squeeze lemon question, you know, about that you are constantly forever, you know, like disapproval, whatever. It's like in the, I felt this sensation, you know, in the first, it's like, I'm like, it's so, like, oh my God, you know, like so small and so afraid, that at the end is fear, and okay, and constant, and at one point it's like, who cares? So it's so funny. It was like, I ended up in the same, you know, sensation of, you know, opening and, you know, being free in that moment, you know. So I just love that we can we have this let's say technique. I like the word technique, because it's, you know, just do it, you know. And then I also love you know, the simplicity. Two things I want to say. One, of, you know, instead of analyzing and that maybe we have the tendency, or maybe not, I don't know, but for me it's very practical to have these three branches very clear, you know, here, okay, what is this, you know, at the core, where is this coming from need of approval, need of control, or need of security? At the end, it's pretty much the same thing, but let's say that, you know, I can define, and that's enough. I don't need to know anymore, you know. It's like mind can disengage, you know, from there. I just need to feel it, to be it, you know. So that I like, because I have some kind of direction, and I love clear directions myself. And then another thing that I want to say thank you and acknowledge, Dr. Fran, you said something very powerful. I think you read it, but the way you say it, for me, synced inside, and was this kind of free up your attention units, you know. like, because the sense that I'm getting is that I'm much more free, less judgmental, much more aware of, okay, what is this? This is control, need, you know, like approval, control, security, and then to be spacious for that, you know, to really let go, to open the window is like, I love the terminology of, you know, like it's really attention that is attached, you know, to all these kind of behaviors that come from the need of control, the need of approval, or the need of security. And I'm very happy. Thank you so much. I just love, you know, that we have something. I love the fact that it's a technique and it's 1, 2, 3, and it's, for me it works. So thank you. Anyone else would like to say something before we close here? Thank
Yes,
you. I can see your gratitude.
This is, I acknowledge Dr. Fran too for being just quite a wonderful reader and interpreter of some of these things that go on. I really appreciate all of our contribution and style. So I was thinking one of the things, I had an experience this week of being imperturbable, but I didn't realize it until later. It was in a connection to a situation with someone, a conversation, where the energy was up and it was a pretty exchange with a good bit of energy in it. And yet I came back, and it wasn't until later that I got home and realized that I had been imperturbable in that experience. And it was real. It was you know, from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet. I was clean and imperturbable and was dancing around. I just started dancing around happy, going, I'm imperturbable, I'm imperturbable. So I did this whole happy dance that was just really fun, but it helped it sink in that this is becoming more and more and more real in my life. You know, I wrote a potent sentence to someone wherein I said, and this is non-negotiable. And when I did that, I was 100% with it. And before it would have been, oh, should I? Oh, anyway, we don't, that's the past. So I just felt more confident, feeling more confident about being myself. And the flip side of doing this, the flip side of doing the downside, so to speak, as we have been, of looking into our disapproval of ourselves, is coming into a place of generating new positive messages for ourselves as well. You have to get creative here to say nice things and to keep coming up with new nice things to say and to inspire ourselves with as we grow into this new self that is minus all that other stuff. So that's a creative exercise. Thank you for another amazing mastermind group.
Thank you, Candace. And I don't know if you need to say something more, Doc Fran, before we close here, just to.
No,
yes,
just thanks as well. You know, I think we're all doing our job admirably, and I'm looking forward to next Saturday's topic.
Thank you so much. Thank you to all of you, Doc Fran to begin, Arne, Celio, Candace, Jay that was here for a while, and me that we show up on the panel. And thank you to everyone that is in the other side, seeing the video, that I know there is many people there. And I will say thank you, thank you for the commitment that we have to really free ourselves and to be who we truly are. So I congratulate all of us. I wish you a wonderful week of release and having fun and detecting just, to me, I think there is nothing better than don't believe us, like the book was saying in the beginning, just do it for a week and then you check for yourself, because for me it's such an experience thing, that I cannot deny it. It's not something that I have to learn here, I really feel it in my body. So thank you, everyone. Have a beautiful week.
I have one last inspiration. We're sitting here talking about disapproving of ourselves. if any of our listeners have been on the back line, so to speak, and they have an aversion to becoming part of the panel members because they're disapproving of themselves, thinking that maybe they really don't have something to offer to the group, I would urge you to very seriously do the exercise on disapproving of self, and I would look forward to seeing your smiling face on our panel next week. Everyone has insights and knowledge that no one else has. We all have things of value to impart.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, Dr. Fran. And it's so true. You know, the invitation is open, and just show up. We will face it all together here. I love it. You know, like supporting each other to open that window, and be who we truly are. Let's say the sky. Okay. Fantastic. Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. Next Saturday is going to be June the 4th already. Yes, Ahmed?
And they can email me to get on the panel. Email Arne, A-R-N-E, @unlimitednetwork.com, and I'll get you the link.
Great. Well, thank you, everyone. Have a beautiful, wonderful, and powerful release week, let's say. And see you next Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Have a good week.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, all of you, and everyone.